everyone, I'm Gavin Everson. I'm an International Trade Director with Livingston International. I'm here at the Retail Supply Chain Logistics Trade Show at the Excel Centre London. We're looking at what's happening for people bringing in and exporting their retail goods using e-commerce processes. So in general, obviously, the UK lives and dies on its import and export business. And we have various simplified processes in place, which people make use of. But following the trend in the US, there is a risk that we've seen of these simplified processes being abused by certain large companies, small companies. The US took that risk very seriously and withdrew their simplification, a simplification called de minimis. The consequence of that was huge numbers of goods backing up in customs. The people trying to clear those goods couldn't clear them because under the simplified processes, the information about them wasn't there. So in consequence, they were simply sent back. So a lot of these retailers in the UK, in Europe, who are sending goods to the US, have just seen all their goods flooding back, huge waste of cost and time. So this is a strong rumour that Rachel Reeves will remove it for two reasons. It will give her extra tax in the form of duty, and it will reduce the amount of fraud and make a more competitive and level playing field for UK manufacturers. We've had a good insight into this. The consequence of de minimis, we can now predict and be ready for, and that's really a lesson that retailers need to learn. Start thinking in advance. We should have more than an overnight notice of withdrawal. So these people bringing goods into the UK for simplified clearance need to think about, if it's not there, what documentation do I need? Have I classified my goods? Can I accurately value them? Can I substantiate the origin of the goods that I'm bringing in to avoid my goods being held up at the border, seized, penalties being imposed? I think it's unlikely that the Chancellor will do it literally overnight, which is what the US could do. They have different powers. But I also believe she will not wait very long. It could be a matter of weeks, months, certainly not years. What can they do to prepare? Well, as I mentioned, they need to think about the documentation. And in terms of the impacts on the UK consumer, well, this is meant to level the playing field, but there will be a lead time between these cheaper certain goods coming in from particularly the Far East until the UK retailers, EU retailers, manufacturers can fill that gap. So there will be some shortages. So the duty, of course, is paid by the importer, but the importer will factor that duty in to the price on which the end consumer pays. So the consequence will be for the end person at home who wants those goods for Christmas. So companies need to think about speed over cost at the moment. Of course, duty will be a cost. They'll be able to pass that on. But the issue is going to be a shortage of import clearance at the airports and ports. There are a finite number of agents out there. Not all agents are experienced or as good as the other, but simply they're not going to have the capacity to deal with goods at an overnight request. These people importing, they need to think about identifying agents well in advance. Identify an agent that's got the capacity and is the type of agent they need, that's not going to get their goods delayed by customs. The person at home has got used to being able to purchase those cheap goods made in the Far East for almost overnight delivery. That model can still work, but the importers, the people bringing the goods in, need to be prepared for that extra amount of work to get the goods cleared through customs. They need to work with people that can support them in classifying the goods, in helping them on origin substantiation, etc. There are a few agents and compliance experts here. Take the time to speak to them, see if they're the right sort of fit for you, and they can help you point out the things you need to be thinking about in advance of that removal of the bird simplification.